CHGO White Sox Postgame Show, presented by DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook. Download the app today and use promo code CHGO when you sign up. Welcome into Studio A of our CHGO offices here in the West Loop of Chicago. I'm Sean Anderson, host of your postgame show. You can follow me on Twitter at Sean_W_Anderson. Thank you for hanging out with us in the chat. We already got 11 likes. Why not get it a little bit higher, folks? Come on. I mean, the White Sox leader last year in home runs was 17. So I would at least like to get to 17. Higher would be just the cherry on top. And we appreciate everyone hanging out with us in the chat. Make sure you are subscribing to the YouTube channel, liking the video, of course, subscribing in all of our podcast platforms like Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And I'll give a rating if you feel so kind. This is not your usual CHGO White Sox crew. We got 4 people. I'm the math guy. That is Vinnie Duber in the yellow shirt. You can follow him on Twitter at Vinnie Duber. He's our CHGO White Sox beat writer. This is Herb Lawrence.
Hello.
You can follow him on Twitter at Ecknerwall23. He's our CHGO White Sox community leader.
Thumbs down me?
Yeah, I think so. It's okay. We'll introduce Mike Rankin.
Okay. And we'll get it back?
Yeah, we'll get it back.
All right.
Mike Rankin is the lead editor and the host of the Future Sox podcast over at Future Sox. It's a good title for the Future Sox podcast, you know?
I
really
appreciate
apt.
that, Sean. That's very accurate. Yes.
Welcome, Mike.
That's what I do.
Your second time here. Excited to have you back for the post game. We are coming to you live after a White Sox loser. 3-1 to the Minnesota Twins. They fall to 5-8 on the year, and they have not won a series yet in 2023 and in Pedro Grifol's tenure. Mike, what have you made of Pedro Grifol, 2023 baseball? It's been a while. Maybe let's start with Pedro Grifol. What have you made of the 2023 Sox? Another losing series here.
I appreciate you guys having me on, Vinny. It's good to see you again. Herm, always good to see you. Sean, thank you. What do they say? 3 is a crowd, but 4 is a party. So, I mean, let's do this thing. Pedro Grifol, to this point, to me, is exactly what I was hoping for. He's just a guy who manages a ball club. And I'll tell you this. In the offseason, I bought into the messaging. There's accountability on the players. You got to up the ante a little bit in terms of trying to get the most out of their day-to-day. But then I watched the in-game tendencies, guys, and I'm starting to notice that he's making bullpen changes in the middle of an inning when you need him to, and there's a big spots, and he's not afraid to use multiple arms in singular innings, which, you know, I haven't been necessarily used to over the last couple of years. And he's also in favor of matchups. So far, I think the message is right. We just got to see the players start clicking a little bit. Here's the thing about today's game. It's kind of a microcosm of what I've experienced so far this year, is that, you know, the pitching staff was great, you know, to a point. Offense has been slow over the last couple of days. The offense was hitting pretty well at the start of the season, and the pitching was a little inconsistent. So as things come together, hopefully the White Sox can put together a complete performance, and that carries them throughout the year. So, I mean, overall, I can't complain about Pedro Grifol. I'm optimistic.
The offense, though, I mean, we've talked about it pre-show. Not a lot of hits today, not a lot of hits yesterday, and they did it all right on Monday.
Listen, I don't think anything can be a better example of they've played 13 games to this point fact than what were we talking about after that Houston series and that San Francisco series? Is the offense is looking all right, right? The pitching, the pitching was good in Houston. Then the pitching wasn't good against San Francisco. Wasn't very good against Pittsburgh. But then on Sunday, Michael Kopech with a nice outing turns it around. Now all of a sudden the pitching's good. But the hitting was okay. Then it was not great. Now it was good again. Now it's bad again. You need to let this thing breathe a little bit before we start noticing trends. Otherwise, we're just going to be reacting to 1 or 2 games at a time, and it's going to drive you absolutely insane. I guess the idea is that it wouldn't drive you insane because nothing would be bad, but that's not always how it works in a baseball season. But, yeah, last 2 days, the offense didn't come to play. And, listen, we're going to talk all about how the defense just fell off a cliff going up to Minnesota. The last 3 days, ugly play in the field, plays that changed the game in basically every single situation where the White Sox made an error or made a miscue in the field. It led to a run scoring, and it led to them losing, with the exception of Monday when they won. But it led to an injury on that day. But, hey, you're not going to win ball games if you're only getting 4 or 5 hits, and that really is the bottom line. Sean, you brought up before the show started, we were talking, it really seems like they're in pitching is good, offense is bad. Offense is good, pitching is bad kind of mode right now, and it was a lot of last year. That's a lot of what happened last year. I guess it's just looking for consistency at this point from really all sides of the ball. I think you can point to Lucas Giolito having a good day, really good day today. Basically every starter now has had a good start in mostly 3 tries, obviously only 2 for Clevenger and Kopech so far, but the rotation that was at this time last week, sky is falling because the rotation. What is wrong with the rotation? All of a sudden now, looking better as you add a little bit more data to that sample size.
And if I may, just throw this in there, and I'll ask you, Herb, do you notice anything about the way Grifol is managing his starters? Because it seems to me he's letting them ride a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, Lucas Giolito went back out for the 6th with 90 pitches and it finished with 108, and he looked good for the most part all day long. And I don't know if somebody else, if Tony last year allows Lucas getting to that 6, but he looked good and he looked fresh. And to give him that faith, and even if Grifol would have taken Lucas out after the 5th inning at 90 pitches, I would have understood there too, because you have an off day tomorrow. You can have all the bullpen arms you want out there because of said off day. And then I can be like, okay, I get it. You want to get Lucas out on a good note, 5 innings, with only the 1 earned to give up, that's all good. But the fact that he let him go back out there and dominate makes me feel good about it. And I don't know if he's getting counsel. Of course he's getting counsel from Ethan Katzer and all the rest of the pitchers like Kirk Hassler, the bullpen coach. But it's good to see that the guy is trusting his pitchers, and good to see Lucas Giolito bouncing back big time after he was supposed to be DFA'd last week. I mean, sorry. That's from the fans, not from me.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's early, and like Vinny said, I thought it was a good point. You can't be reacting to singular games, right? I mean, today is a completely different day because this offense and lineup will look completely different for this Orioles series, hopefully. What I do want to ask, because Pedro Grifol did mention earlier today that Eloy Jimenéz will likely be reinstated when his 10, 15 days are up. And it seems like Yoán Moncada will become, like we said yesterday, day-to-day, starting with Friday for that Orioles game. So we'll see if he is in the lineup on Friday. What, though, is a bigger issue with TA, Yoán, and Eloy being out? Or what's a bigger sign? The defensive issues that we've seen or the offensive issues that we saw in this Twins series? What's the bigger, the injuries caused the defensive or the offensive?
I mean, I think both are true. Both are applicable there. I would lean offense because one of the 3 guys that they're missing is a DH. So I would lean toward the offense. The graphic that flashed at the beginning of the show was, where's the offense? What's happened to the offense? It's over there, sitting on the injured list and sitting, if you're Yoán Moncada, just sitting out with a sore back. Those are arguably the 3 best hitters on this team. Luis Robert Jr. probably deserves some nod in there, too, to be part of a Fab 4, if you will. But those 3 guys, you take them out of the lineup, a 30-year lineup, and an important 30-year lineup, the production is, you would imagine, will fall off, and that's exactly what's happened. But the defense it's right up there with it, because who's the guy that has been the GOAT of the week in the field? That would be Hanser Alberto, probably not playing at all this week in Minnesota if Yoán Moncada can go. So, you've got the 2 plays that he made in the game on Monday, or the 2 plays that he didn't make in the game on Monday, and then the error that directly led to the winning run score last night. Those are Alberto's fault, and he's probably not playing if Moncada is healthy. Tim Anderson gets hurt on a defensive mistake. Not a lot of moving around there that led directly that I can think of to any problems. Elvis Andrus made an error on Monday, but it was at second base before Tim came out of the game. Then you got to look at Gavin Sheets, who had a few bad plays this week. I guess you could point to right field. Maybe Eloy Jimenéz is the right fielder. If Colas needs a day off and they want to DH Yaz, which is what looked like it happened today, maybe Eloy gets a little bit of a run in right field. But I really think that the idea today with Gavin playing right field and making that bad play in right field that led to a triple, that led to a run, Gavin's been hitting. And right. If you're Pedro Grifol, a guy who came into today 7 for his first 21, you want to keep his bat in the lineup, especially when your other 3 guys that you're relying on can't play.
Well, when he's 7 for 21 and he's 3 of 6 lifetime versus Gray. Why wouldn't you put him in the lineup? He sees that guy well. And, that's probably one of the bigger concerns with Gavin is, again, in 2022, I don't know if he ever delivered that punch that, we saw in 2021. We saw that homer, that slug, especially Jose Barrios. Was that 2020, though? I think it was 2020 when he hit that walk-off. But the issue that we saw with Gavin, or
2021
with Gavin, was a lot of going the opposite field, but with contact. And it's like, Gavin, you're 6'4". I'd like to see you unload and use that power. And we still really haven't seen that slug from Gavin because, the average is nice, 280. That's also his slugging percentage is 280. So a lot of singles. So, I would like to see more from Gavin. It's still right field is another place where you're not getting good defense and you're not getting power yet. You've only had one home run from Colas. I don't know if we're massively excited about Colas, if he's earned that everyday spot, because that was the talk going into spring training. But we see Gavin have a day like that out in right field, and I don't know if I want to see much of Gavin out in right field.
Yeah, and I think your question, I think the offense has struggled the most. And I know defensive miscues have happened, but you get better players out in the outfield, and you cover up the Gavin Sheets triple right there that he gave to the Minnesota Twins player. But tough pitchers yesterday, and I think in that inning where you get Lopez on the ropes in the first inning, having people like Yoán Moncada who can draw a walk, having Eloy Jimenéz who can hit a home run, or Tim Anderson to lead that game off and turn the lineup over would be better than the lineup they had yesterday. Lost by 1 run, 4-3. Today, 3-1. I mean, get a home run from Lennon Sosa, he probably wouldn't be here if Tim's not hurt. But I think you get a better effort at the plate versus Sonny Gray today if you have those three guys in there, and the defense just takes care of itself. We won't notice the defense there because those guys would do their thing. So I think not having those guys, you see the direct result of the offense tanking, because you saw the offense pretty much do its thing up until, Sunday versus the Pirates? They were hitting every time, getting multiple 10-hit days, maybe not getting the runs in, but they were hitting. These last couple of days have been ugly because they haven't been hitting. And I know the pitchers have something to do with that, Minnesota Twins, but also they had Lopez on the ropes yesterday and really didn't cash in. I'm sure having a tougher at-bat versus Tim, a tougher at-bat versus Yoán, a tougher at-bat by Eloy would have fatigued that man, and he would have went into the 8th inning.
Well, I do want to bring up this real quick. We mentioned, a lot of the good hitters being on the IL. One person we didn't mention, we mentioned Luis Robert having a nice series, leading the team with 5 home runs. The first baseman. I know he had a defensive play today that was a little bit tricky. I wouldn't say it's the easiest play at first base, but I would like to see him make that.
Well, he bobbled it.
He bobbled it, right. I think,
it's one thing to just not get the runner at home,
right.
But he bobbled it. He didn't even give himself a chance to have a play there.
Yeah. However, it's first base defense. And it is only 13 games so far. But Andrew Vaughn had great at-bats versus Sonny Gray. Walked twice, or walked once, had a single.
Twice.
Walked twice against? Yeah. I don't think
he walked twice and Zavala walked. So they had 3 walks today.
But Vaughn against Gray. Vaughn against Gray only had 2 at-bats. He walked and then had a hit against Gray.
Versus Gray.
But my point was, we didn't see Sonny Gray. 5 innings, 78 pitches. He was great. And Andrew Vaughn's leading off the 6th. And Rocco Baldelli is like, I'm good. I'm going to take out Sonny Gray. So you're just talking about quality of at-bats, and I just wanted to credit Andrew Vaughn because I just thought he was phenomenal against Gray today. I thought he was phenomenal against Lopez as well. I'm really liking the way that he is getting on base, leading the team in walks right now, 2nd in extra base hits, and his OPS is 834.
It's good.
Well, you guys want to play a little game here?
Imagine if he hit home runs.
Imagine if he hit home runs. Right. No, absolutely. We'll see if that comes. He did, again, lead the team last year in homers. But let's play a little game. Mm-hmm. Jose Abreu's OPS in 2022, was it higher or lower than 834?
2022?
Last year.
I
lower.
would guess lower because he hit a lot of singles.
Correct.
Yes. Yeah.
824. Mike, in 2021, was Jose Abreu's OPS higher or lower than 834?
Is it lower?
It is lower, 831. In his MVP season, Herb, was it higher or lower than 834?
It was higher.
It was higher. It was 987.
Yeah.
That was stupid.
That was easy.
In 2019.
You finally gave me the easy one. Yeah, let's go.
In 2019, All-Star year, was it higher or lower than 834.
Higher.
It was 834.
Okay.
So, just saying, Andrew Vaughn right now is so far replaced the first baseman offensively.
Sean, we need more.
I'd like to see that more defensively.
13 games? 13 games?
It's 13 games,
Okay.
but I mean,
Just checking.
again, he led the team last year in home runs, and that's why they felt like he could go to Houston.
I need more of this from Sean and from others about Andrew Vaughn, because I'm a buyer. I'm a huge fan of his style as a hitter. I love the way that he controls the strike zone, and that's something that I feel like is missing. That's kind of carried over from last year.
I'm sorry, you say you wanted to hear more about Andrew Vaughn from Sean.
Let's say we only have an hour.
I mean, there's only so many minutes in the show.
Yeah, hey, JJ is saying Sean narrative pushing Andrew Vaughn is funny. So, hey, I appreciate it.
It felt like you really wedged it in there today.
But
I mean, we just mentioned that, again, that, we were talking about best hitters on the team, and he's done well so far.
good.
Yeah. Robert and Vaughn have been fine offensively.
They have been.
I'd like to see home runs.
I get what you're saying, but I don't put this as a Vaughn versus Abreu thing because I think you can have both. You could have had both. So you could have the Vaughn numbers and you could have the Abreu numbers. And I know he's not doing
No, because then
Eloy
Eloy would be in right field, and no one wants that.
I mean, I would rather have him than that sumbitch who was playing today. Whew, man. It's a tough goal, man.
But isn't that what Oscar Colas is for? I mean,
it is, but he needs a blow every once in a while. He needs a timeout. He's a young player, but still needs a blow.
So, but again, is that not within the landscape of 13 games? Is your backup players are going to have to play? Like Gavin Sheets, Gavin Sheets had to play today because Oscar Colas needed a day off.
That's not
Hanser Alberto playing third base. Is just due to Yoán Moncada needing time off, and the backup players.
Moncada, Anderson, and Eloy are all hurt.
Yeah.
They can't play in this game.
Right.
So look at it offensively and say how are the White Sox going to mount an offense that is capable of doing anything? They tried today, and the results said they really didn't because they only scored 1 run and they only had 6 hits. Yeah. But the answer that Pedro Grifol went with today, because apparently Colas needed a day off, was Sheets needs to be in there because he's hitting. Grandal, we'd like to have his bat in there at DH if he's not catching. You're not taking, you just sing Vaughn's praises. You don't want to take him out of the lineup to have Sheets play first base. If you put Romy in right field, maybe he's more capable as a defender, but your lineup gets significantly worse. So, I mean, Grifol can only do so much here. You know what I mean? He can only do so much when he's got 3 guys who are supposed to be soaking up so many at-bats and so many innings in the field, with the exception of Eloy. He's unable to use them today. He's got to do something. He's got to field the team.
That was my problem. Not with Grifol. It's with the front office. In the call-up of Sosa, you already have plenty of middle infielders to cover yourself. You need an outfielder for the dearth of people out there. And if you're going to give people in the outfield a day off, you don't truly have a 4th outfielder. So you need somebody from the minor leagues to come up here to get those at-bats and to man right field. That didn't cost you the game because, you get the Lennon Sosa home run in the 9th, but that's a huge thing that you can't trust the guy in right field to catch a routine fly ball.
But, I mean, Lenine is best man up, right? I mean, that is why Lenine Sosa gets called up. I mean, also, they're probably consulting Pedro on, hey, what do you need when, Tim Anderson goes down?
Their starting shortstop is who got hurt. So now their starting second baseman becomes their starting shortstop. Their backup player, Romy Gonzalez, who plays everywhere, has to play second base. Maybe Alberto falls into that mix as well, but they need another backup infielder. That's why they called up Sosa. I mean, listen, they made the opening day roster with a bunch of healthy players. They weren't like, oh well, we can't we have to go with Romy as the 4th outfielder because Billy Hamilton's hurt and Victor Reyes is hurt and all that. No, they picked Romy Gonzalez over those guys who were healthy. They decided that they were going to be fine with Romy Gonzalez as their 4th outfielder and mixing Gavin and Eloy in there a little bit. You're seeing now from Gavin Sheets, who's made 1 start in right field and made 1 really bad-looking play in right field, that maybe that's not a very good idea. But they're handcuffed offensively at the same time, too. It's not an envious position to be in. The idea is that hopefully starting on Friday, they won't be in that position anymore.
And again, like Oscar Colas is on the roster for a reason. And most time he will be getting starts versus right-handed starters. I mean, just Gavin, I think, had the experience against Gray. And, again, he's been playing Colas a lot. So, I don't think it was a weird decision from Pedro. Like, I'm not.
It is a weird
so
decision.
far, I'm fine with Pedro Grifol. It's
Not by Pedro. It's a weird decision by the White Sox. I still contend that you got to have, if you're going to have that outfield, you got to have somebody replacing one of these three because you're an oft-injured team. If one of those guys get injured, who are you putting out there? Gavin? If center fielder gets hurt, you got to move Oscar over to center, and then you're going to put Gavin Sheets in right. It's a flawed lineup they had, a flawed 26-man.
It does.
Because they have a bunch of middle infielders who can serve it. I know Tim got hurt, and that's the shortstop. But you have Hanser, you have Romy, you have other players, Elvis Andrus. You have a bunch of players that can fill in the middle infield spots to be fine. And they're major league players at those positions. So you're, for the most part, going to be fine. If one of the outfielders go out and your choices are Gavin Sheets or Romy Gonzalez, that's a tough go.
Well, to your point, Herb, I think it's difficult when you look at the 40-man roster. You got to make a decision if you want to add guys like Jake Marisnick and Victor Reyes, because those are the next men up.
Yeah.
If we're talking outfielders. There's not a lot in Charlotte right now, and Zach Remillard is somebody who's been in the White Sox system for a long time. He's also been a utility infielder playing a little bit of first base, but outside of that, I don't see a realistic option.
Did you mention Hamilton?
Billy Hamilton, of course, too. Billy Hamilton, but what you're looking for a replacement for the production that you're losing, say Gavin Sheets isn't in the lineup, right? You're looking for something that can kind of supplant what you're missing. And the White Sox don't have a lot of that in the immediate sense, in AAA especially. You got a lot of cast-off future big leaguers who have been, journeymen. And again, if you want to make a decision, and it's hard because you're balancing the amount of injuries that they're dealing with right now. But if you're going to call up a Jake Marisnick, you got to make a move on the 40-man. You got to add him. And who are you going to cut? And I commend the White Sox for cutting Jose Ruiz and getting rid of Leury Garcia because it made the most sense for a competitive ball club. But they're just not there, Herb, like you're talking about. The immediate sense. And that's why, like on the Future Sox podcast, not to bring it to the thing, is like when we focus on this farm system, we kind of take it as a reset beginning in 2020. Mike Shirley takes over as the scouting director, and then they have a new draft philosophy where they're not afraid of taking prep players out of high school, those who have suffered significant injuries on the pitching staff. That's part of the reason why they're struggling now. The timelines don't mesh. The farm system is developed. They're a bottom 10 farm system. They don't have immediate help. However, the big league club has invested its highest amount of salary in the payroll in the history of the franchise, yet they're not good enough, it seems, to realistically, now I don't want to dismiss it, but it just seems like this year is figuring out what's next. Because are they good enough to win a World Series? We're talking 13 games in. I think talent-wise, all things go well, and they play to their upside, they absolutely can win the division, and they absolutely can make a run in the postseason. Mm-hmm. The issue is we know that everything doesn't go how you expect, and they don't have the backups right now. That's the concern that I have, is the depth. So when I talk about what's next, look at this payroll, and look at the names that are coming off the books, and I hate to look so far past this year, but that's just the feeling that I get. Is I have to – the White Sox are observing the way that the 2023 season goes. They want to be competitive, but then they also are realistic about their next 2 to 3 based on prospect projections and their salary and their budget. So that's where I'm at. And it's just frustrating to think that like a guy like Victor Reyes and Jake Marisnick are next men up when what are you going to get out of those guys?
Yeah,
not much.
Absolutely. And that's been a kind of a year, CHGO long kind of trend that we've been following is just depth. Like that's something that I wanted them to go out at the trade deadline and just go get a ton of. Like go get guys that could be next man up if someone gets hurt, just because we saw so much of the key contributions in 2021 come from some of those players.
You're right. And I think my answer today is the same as it was the first time you brought this up and every single time since. How? Because here's the thing. Everybody's like, oh, my God, how is it that Yoán Moncada, this great third baseman, can get hurt, and the best person you have to put there is Hanser Alberto? Like, do you want another starting caliber major league third baseman behind Yoán Moncada? That's impossible to acquire. The idea is what Mike said, that your farm system would be able to backfill that. And if the farm system is where it is, what do you want him to do? You want him to get in a time machine and go draft a bunch of different players? Like, Is it a failing? Yes, but it's a failing that you can't just go out and fix by throwing money at it, because the only players that you're going to be happy with in quote unquote backing up guys who get injured are guys who are starting major leaguers on other teams.
Yeah, and I'm less of saying, they should be spending money on depth. When I'm saying, looking at where they've spent their salary, it's spend, not 38% of your salary on bullpen guys. Like the bullpen guys we've seen with Keenan Middleton. Go take flyers. Go sign a ton of Victor Reyes's and Jake Marisniks.
They did.
They have.
I know, but do more. Trace Thompson, go look at what he's doing with the Dodgers.
They had him, and he wasn't very good.
I know, but why is he good now?
Ask the Dodgers.
I know, but maybe that
the Dodgers are good. Everybody would like to be the Dodgers.
That's the thing is maybe go hire more Dodger guys.
Well, to your point, Sean, it's hard to find position players that are replaceable who you are comfortable with beginning the year in AAA and then also feeling comfortable that you can be up and down guys throughout the year. I think position players is difficult. When it comes to the bullpen, Vinny, you touched on it. The White Sox, I think, have done an admirable job of doing or solidifying a bullpen with a lot of up and down guys, because they took flyers on names and they returned their Rule 5 pick. But I like that strategy because you're not spending a bulk of your payroll on guys, right, who are appearing in 60 some odd games a year. And I mean, they're volatile positions considering arms go down all the time. But when you have names like Franklin German in your minors and Gregory Santos who can go up and down, it changes everything. And the way that they invested in their bullpen this year, I think, is commendable, and it's on the cheap. So you have competitive arms there.
Well, let's take a break here because I can go deeper into this topic and we'll push it a little bit more. Let's take a break and let you know about Pins and Aces. I know our guy Steven is very excited about all the Pins and Aces stuff that was just sent over.
There's a hat up there.
Yeah, there's hats around everywhere. There's a nice blue one over there in Kevin's office. I think this is a boxing glove as well. I got to learn more about the boxing glove.
I'm getting a polo shirt sent here.
You're getting a polo shirt sent here? Very nice. I know I'm going to go get the beer sleeve just because I continue to bring that up on these ad reads.
Just going to walk around downtown with it?
Yeah. Sling some beer. Yeah. Why not? Pins and Aces is the official golf apparel partner of ALLCITY and CHGO. We love our Pins and Aces gear and get tons of compliments on and off the course. Our guy Steven just consistently rocks his Pins and Aces gear. I know he's excited to get his polo coming in or his hat. And they are a family-owned golf and apparel business, and they make amazing polos, hats, golf bags, and again, our favorite, the beer sleeve. I'm excited to get my own. An innovative product that allows you to store 7 beers right inside your golf bag and keep your drinks cold the entire round. Got a 15-pack of Goose Island, right?
Yep.
And you get 2 beer sleeves, 7 in one, 7 in the other, beer in a hand. Check out pinsandaces.com and use code CHGO to receive 15% off your first order and get free shipping. Again, that's pinsandaces.com using the code CHGO. And this is beautiful weather, so go take advantage of it. Every single day you should be golfing, I think. Also want to let you know about DraftKings Sportsbook. I had a nice play today, a little home run from Alex Bregman.
Nice.
The soccer plays are looking nice, and it is NBA playoffs time. Tonight it's play-in time. That means big hoops action with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. Get on the excitement with every game with the touch of a button. New customers can make a $5 pregame moneyline bet and score $150 in bonus bets if their team wins. Pick of the night is OG Anunoby over 15.5 points in tonight's game versus the Bulls and Raptors. Since 2021, he's scored at least 13 in every game, and he's been over 15.5 in 6 of every 8. So good odds. That's a good trend right there. So go play that. Plus, everyone could score a no-sweat same-game parlay every day during the NBA playoffs. Cody gave one out on CHGO Bets earlier, so go check that out as well. Download the app now and sign up with code CHGO. New customers can make a $5 pregame moneyline bet and score $150 in bonus bets if their team wins. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook with code CHGO. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In Massachusetts, call 1-800-327-505 or visit gamblinglinema.org. In New York, call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Kansas, call 1-800-522-4700. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, 21 plus in eligible states, but age varies by jurisdiction. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details and state-specific responsible gambling resources. Okay, we got 3 super chats. Thank you.
That's for you, Sean, for reading that so quickly.
I need a potion to make me read it faster.
You need to go to auctioneering school.
Yeah.
I got 100. I got my.
You remember Micro Machines?
Micro Machines.
Yeah, my guy.
Yeah. I try to be as fast as the Micro Machine guys, but I mean that guy is he's too excited about those mini machines. Let's go to the super chats here. We appreciate both Husky Bardo and Kevin Bryant for sending these in. First, Husky saying, sorry to those who actually thought this year was going to be different. This team isn't good at ball. Sick of hearing it's early. It is still early. Again,
it's going to be early for a while.
It is going to be early for a while. This could be their worst 3 series of the year. I mean, like I think it's extremely glass half empty to just say, they're done. I mean,
of course
like,
it is. Yeah.
It's
just the calendar.
Just emphasizing it.
I mean, there's 3 games out, I believe. Like, it's not that bad.
Right.
It sucks that lost. Don't get me wrong, Husky Bardo. They're playing like crap, but they can right the ship real quick. And then Mike says they have the talent. That's why we're frustrated, because they're playing not to their talent, and it's very, very frustrating to have that effort you have from Lucas Giolito and they still lose.
Well, and we know the concerns, right? There's the same concerns as last year. When the pitching shows up, the hitting doesn't. When the hitting shows up, the pitching doesn't. But also, what if they have a great June, July, August, September? That you 4 out of the 6 months you're good. That's good.
Well, here's what I was thinking of. I was thinking of putting it this way earlier today. I say this a lot. That's why they play the games, kind of thing. If it was just prediction and we predicted that they were going to lose, we could pre-record all this stuff and we could take the whole season, have a nice vacation.
Go enjoy the weather.
Go outside.
You
enjoy the weather.
You want to do shows outside.
I do want to do shows outside.
Steven.
We need to work on being
You're
able to do
a
shows
bad
outside.
chaperone. Take us outside.
We could do it. It's just kind of a pain in the ass.
That's fine.
Really hard.
For who? Us?
Me.
Or, oh.
We don't care about you.
There, yeah.
How's your arm?
My arm's
Still
fine.
twitching?
No. It's
Yeah,
fine.
Sean had you on the
The
deathbed
athletic
last
greens
night.
were good.
Excellent. But my point being that, you don't know what's going to happen. You know what I mean? And we all say, or, you hear me saying all the time, well, this could happen, this could happen, this could, because I don't know what's going to happen. If I knew what was going to happen, I'd tell you, and we could not even bother watching any of this.
I would actually bet it on DraftKings if I knew what was happening.
Yeah,
right. If I had
although that's one of the rules of time travel, you're not supposed to do that.
Son of a
Well,
bitch.
I was about to say, if I had the Back to the Future almanac,
Saying,
I'd
Biff made a lot of money.
yeah, but he was evil.
That's
He was
fine.
evil. See, you want to be like Biff? Herb?
He was the protagonist of those movies.
Wow.
Don't be like Biff. More super chats, though. Another one from Husky saying the White Sox July fire sale is going to be epic. Maybe. Hey, you got them shipping out Tim Anderson?
I'll say this.
Mike Rankin?
Mike painted a kind of a frightening picture there for a lot of Sox fans when he's like, oh, yeah, I'm looking ahead past this year kind of thing. It's certainly not what the front office wants to
Who
hear.
are you thinking of? Was it Tim?
You're talking about like moving on?
Yeah.
Well,
Is
I'm
it
thinking-
Colson Montgomery and Tim Anderson?
Well, Tim Anderson's coming close to the end of his contract. You got to make a decision there, of course. But I think he's super talented, of course. So I'm not necessarily thinking about Tim Anderson. I'm not worried about that. I'm just thinking about the pitching staff. Lance Lynn, Lucas Giolito, Dylan Cease is going to cost a lot. Michael Kopech's a concern. And I'm looking at the depth of the farm. There's going to be you're going to have some leaps from some of these young pitchers over the next year plus.
Sean Burke.
For me to feel good. And Sean Burke is a guy, along with Matthew Thompson, that, Chris Getz said that they were big league depth this year. And I kind of, paused a little bit on that one because they need more work. They need more time. They need to prove it to me. So that's just kind of how thin they are in the bigs. But we're seeing Jesse Schultens, a little AJ Alexi action. What do you think?
Did you see his stat line?
Who's that?
Alexi.
AJ Alexi?
Yeah. He didn't allow a
You're
hit.
not pronouncing that correctly, Sean.
AJ Alexi.
Alexi.
Did you see his stat line in his most recent outing?
Look
I
it
got
up for
to
us.
get it
Get it
exactly
right.
right to
Was
to do it
7
justice.
walks, I believe?
Oh, it was
In like an
was,
inning?
I think it was not even an inning. I think it was
Yeah.
a 2/3 of an inning. He didn't allow a hit, which mercy. Hey,
Go out there,
that's
Alexei.
good. Sorry, no, it was 1 1/3. No hits allowed.
Baby.
4 earned runs.
Not good.
1 strikeout.
Here we go.
7 walks.
God damn.
Walks. All right, we'll work on it.
It's like that minor league no-hitter.
Yeah, he threw
But
it.
Husky Bardo, I just you can feel the way you feel, man. You're not wrong. After last year,
Their slogans prove it.
Pessimism is warranted, and you have the right to feel the way you are. but we're not there yet. We might get there. I'm choosing positivity this year. I'll see when it wears off. But you're not wrong. I'm not. We might be saying different things than you are. Doesn't mean that you're wrong and we're right, and the opposite too.
Yeah, I mean, listen. You want to be upset. Be upset. They haven't won a series yet. They're not playing well. But you can't determine. You can't know how the book ends before reading it.
Well, Kirk feels like he does. He's got a super chat here. Crystal Ball is saying if they lose the series to Baltimore, they're sellers at the deadline already after the April 15th series. They got Tampa, Toronto, Philly looming. Put
Schedule
some
is
cheddar
hard.
on it.
Yeah.
Tim to the Dodgers.
Schedule is hard, no doubt about that.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't let up. And I mean, there's a little bit of a break with Cincy and KC in early May, but then, hey, here comes Jose Abreu and the Astros. And, hey, here comes your first series with the Guardians. Like, it doesn't let up.
There's no break with Kansas City. They've been dominating the White Sox lately.
Well, that was because Pedro Grifol was there.
That's enough.
We got the secret sauce. Let's go to the other super chat from our guy Kevin, though. Who can you rely on this team besides Cease? Our roster is a mess. Our most important players are all injury-prone. This isn't sustainable.
I think that last outing by Michael Kopech tells you could probably rely on him. The first outing, you saw it. He was getting his pitches. He was tipping his pitches, and they were airing him out. And then he came against the Pittsburgh Pirates, and he shut them down. He did a really good job versus those Pirates. I think ultimately you could trust him. Lucas Giolito, what he did today, I think you could trust him. And Lance Lynn, the bounce back he had after giving up the 3 runs last night, and then shutting him down, getting 10 runs or 10 strikeouts last night. I don't think the pitching staff, the starting pitcher staff, is the problem. If they post, I think their numbers will be right. But the hitting has been here or there, but I think that's mostly because of the 3 guys who are out of the game right now.
Is the 2023 like the biggest reason, the biggest headline of the first 13 games of 2023 still not health?
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
This team still isn't healthy,
And that's
frustrating.
And maybe that's it.
It's extraordinarily frustrating. And if you would have told anybody that, in the offseason or even during the spring when the health news was so good, the reaction would have been the exact same as it is now. Here we go again. Here we go again. So I think, let's put it this way. I think a lot of people look at the things that I say and they're like, oh, you're overly optimistic. You're not watching the same game kind of thing. I'll put it this way. No, I don't think they've given you a reason to be optimistic. You know what I mean? I think both things are true. Like, yeah, it's early. You can't write them off yet. But also, it's early. They haven't given you any reason to believe they're going to win. They, you know what I mean? They haven't done any. They haven't done. They haven't
put it together.
They have not put it together. But it being early, which y'all are hating to hear so much, goes both ways. It's too early to write them off, but it's too early to say they're going to be any good either.
Well, and I think Wayne saying, team made of glass, I think that's a little unfair, at least for the 2023 team so far, because the Eloy injury, I would say so far that was overly cautious. He still stayed in the game and then was taken out and was reevaluated post-game, and they're like, we'll put you on the IL. But he was even saying, like, a day after, I'm fine. I got pinch hit today. So, I mean, they don't seem too concerned about Eloy. Seems like he should be able to be fine. And look what he did after the IL last year. He played all 84 games. Yoán Moncada, he had the back flare-up in spring training, played opening day, and he looked fine to start. So if Moncada comes back Friday, Saturday, whenever, and looks fine, I don't think there should be a ton of concern. They're managing his back. It's early April.
And
That should be fine.
Tim was already working out today.
And Tim's working out today, but it was a contact injury, which makes that a lot better. It's not a non-contact lower half injury. If it was non-contact, I'd be freaking out. Like, that's a very bounce back. You can bounce back from that injury fairly easily. So, like, none of these have been death blows. Joe Kelly got injured running out of a bullpen fight.
Ugh.
Like, there's no cause for concern either.
Well, I wouldn't go that far.
Okay.
If Tim is out closer to that 4-week estimation than the 2-week, then you just lost your most important player for a sixth
month,
of the
yeah.
season. That's a big deal. But you're right in that nobody has. And I can't believe that, like, this is the sign of the reason to breathe easy kind of thing. But the way the last 2 years have gone, it's applicable here. Eloy got hurt, and the timeline wasn't 3 months.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Luis Robert was out for months in 2021. Yasmani Grandal has missed months over the last 2 years. None of that has happened quite yet. I do think, again, you want to hold your breath for, or you want to, clutch your pearls for Tim Anderson for a second, go ahead, because if it is the higher end of that month of that estimation, 4 weeks is a long time to be without your best player.
Well, and two, I think it would, like, going back to Kirk where he's talking about, the deadline, if they're losing the series to Baltimore coming up, like, it has to be at the deadline, I feel, for them to truly call it, because when are they going to be at their fullest? When are they going to be at their most 100%?
Sean, there is not one team in baseball right now that can say they're going to be something
fair.
at the trade deadline.
No,
Pittsburgh Pirates could be in first place at the trade
deadline. But my point
deadline.
is, too, like, I don't know if you can even write this team off because they won't be at 100% until May. Because, I mean, I think someone brought it in. Liam, Garrett, like, those are two huge arms in the bullpen that's just going to make it easier to close out games if the offense isn't hitting. Hopefully, again, like the Tim, Yoán, and Eloy things aren't affecting them, and they're at 100%. Like, this team might not be at 100%, quote-unquote, like, until May. So we really might not be able to get a full judge on what this team is until then. So as long as they're 500, tread water, I'm all right.
Yeah, these two teams in front of them right now, the Guardians and the Twins, I don't think they're going to run away from the White Sox right now. I was impressed by the Twins. That pitching staff is pretty good, but, if they're off injured, and we saw Byron Buxton, just a dumb play by Byron Buxton, running straight into Lenny Sosa. You learn that rule in fundamentally Little League. Do not run or don't obstruct the fielder from catching the ball, from getting the ball, and he just runs full speed into him. Not stop, not go around him, full speed right into him. And then his injury history looked like he landed right on his right shoulder. Hopefully the guy is all right, but they played with a team that was depleted and still went out 2 out of 3 at a home series versus their main rivals. So I'm impressed by the Twins more than I would think I would be before the series started. So it's they're not going to run high because that team is very flawed and not that good at all.
Expectations by the deadline. I can't, even if the White Sox say like they're not as competitive as we thought they would be, I still don't see them selling.
But you brought up Lance. I mean, he's got a club option after the year for $18 million. You bring up Lucas. He's going to be an unrestricted free agent after this year. Like, you don't think if they're whatever, 3 games under 500, 4 games under 500, they trade.
They'd have to be way out
Lance
of it.
or
I mean,
Gio.
The thing about that is, like, I just can't envision this group calling it a season early. Because I think they're going to do whatever it takes to compete for as long as they can. And say, hypothetically, they're out of it by July. That means if you're going to sell, you better get rid of somebody who's going to bring back a premium talent. And who is that going to be? Luis Robert, Tim Anderson, Andrew Vaughn, those types of players. Yeah. The top, you're not going to touch the top prospects in your farm system because that's who you envision to be your future.
But even then, like, I mean, Vaughn and Robert, aren't they like the most cost-effective like players right
that's
now
what
on
I
your
mean.
team?
But I'm talking about like in terms of value across the league. How do other franchises value who you believe are your best players? And the White Sox simply overvalue their own talent. And I think it's held them back a couple of years, but also at the same time, I can understand why you fall in love with guys. At the end of the day, I can't imagine that they're going to sell by July no matter where they are.
And that speaks to a bigger thing, too. That would be Kenny and Rick saying another rebuild if you're going to get rid of players at the trade deadline. And that would be detrimental to their employment, I would think. So they'd be like, no, Cleveland and Minnesota are within a certain amount. We can catch them if we get X, Y, and Z. And I would want them to do that because signaling another rebuild would be very detrimental to our mental health as White Sox fans and the White Sox themselves. Like, that window shutting within 3 years would be very, very sad. And I don't know if some White Sox fans would continue on. It'll be very hard to continue on, to be a fan of that team where you've been told and since 2016, hey, we're going to have this contention window. And then in the middle of it, you're like, all right, that's it. Close.
Yeah. I mean, important season. And again.
And I think what would help, say, like, I know the core players are hurt right now, but if there was a buy-in to an approach at the plate, we're back at it. If there was a way that you're not getting yourself out so consistently, maybe I'm just blind because of the last 2 years. It's just been early in the count.
I mean, what have you know? I mean,
getting yourself out. It's just a matter, like certain individual players, Sean, like Luis Robert, I'm not touching with the plate approach. But then on the other side of the coin, you brought up Andrew Vaughn earlier in the show. That guy sees pitches, takes pitches, hits his pitch. I don't know if collectively the White Sox lineup is doing that. And that maybe is just, like I said, I'm just kind of like blind early on to the season, but that's the trend that I get, is that this lineup doesn't have a consistent approach.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing we were kind of monitoring over the offseason was Chris Johnson brought up a lot about the fastball, seeing the fastball, hitting the fastball. I don't know if we've really seen that. We heard from the Andrews, Vaughn, and Benintendi that they'd be looking to pull fly balls in the air. We haven't seen that from either of them so far. I mean, Vaughn kind of hit a fly ball on that Pablo Lopez double, but that was more of a very hard hit flare. It felt like it was off the end of the bat.
So I saw, sorry to cut you off there,
Yeah.
but when it comes to approach at the plate, understand what the pitchers are trying to do to you. I saw Alex Wood shut down this club, and he's predominantly off speed. I saw Sonny Gray today mow him down, a lot of off speeds, and then the bullpen arms that came in from the Twins today, a lot of off speed pitches. So I don't know if that's a scouting report from across the league. If this is how we can get White Sox hitters out. It's just I'm not seeing adjustments. And it hasn't been the case. The consistent plate approaches haven't been the case over the last couple of seasons. It's frustrating to me because I think you can get away with the talent that is filling in for the core players if there's a consistent approach top to bottom.
Yeah, I mean, the other point I was going to bring up was what you brought up with Pedro about striking out. I forget exactly what he brought up, but I think it was just he's fine if they are. He wanted them to be aggressive, right? Like that was the other point. So like I'm not too shocked that they're not striking out a ton, only 5 strikeouts today, and kind of attacking early. We saw that with Lopez a lot yesterday. We saw that with Gray, 78 pitches to the 5th inning. I mean, Pedro just kind of talked about being aggressive. So I don't know. That might be the approach that they're looking for. Kevin with the super chat here. Is Matt Foster coming back to this team too? Was he supposed to be available to start the year?
He had a forearm in March.
He's hurt. He got hurt in spring training.
He's in the IL now. And any time you're dealing with a forearm, it's concerning.
Foster's a quad A guy anyways, though. I mean, he probably wasn't going to make the major league team, right?
That's another example of an up and down bullpen arm that they can absolutely get away with using.
All right. So there's your Matt Foster update. Let's take a quick break. Let you know about Shady Rays. Again, a beautiful day outside in Chicago. It's been a beautiful week. Take on the sun with gear built to last. Our friends at Shady Rays have you covered for the warm weather ahead with premium polarized shades at an affordable price. Shady Rays is an independent sunglasses company that offers a world-class product that's just as good as any expensive pair we've worn. They have durable frames and extremely clear optics for outdoor adventure. And that's not all. Shady Rays offers the most insane protection program in all of eyewear. Every pair of sunglasses is backed by lost and broken replacements. If you lose or break your pair, even on day one, they told us that they will send you a brand new pair, no questions asked. So you can wear your Shady Rays with confidence because they have your back as long after your purchase. And exclusively for our listeners, Shady Rays is giving out their best deal of the season. Go to shadyrays.com and use code CHGO for 50% off 2+ pairs of polarized shades. Try for yourself these shades rated 5 stars by over 250,000 people. Again, use code CHGO for 50% off 2 or more pairs of polarized sunglasses from Shady Rays. Also want to let you know about Game Time. Game Time is our fantastic friends. They bailed us out last year when we were trying to get to the Cleveland White Sox series in late September. We wanted to go to Steven and see the atmosphere for that Monday game, and $11. So not only were they affordable, not only did we get them at the last minute, not only were they all in $11, but they helped us right before the game. Concerts, playoff games, events in your city. They have flash deals on last-minute tickets, easy to find and buy tickets for every kind of event in your area. They have image of seat views, and they have the lowest price guarantee, event cancellation protection, and job loss protection. So make sure you download the app that has been downloaded by 15 million people. Create an account and use code CHGO for $20 off your first-time purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CHGO for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. And our friend, Southpaw, Vinny's wedding guest, was sent to us by our friends over at FOCO. If you're looking for stuff for your man cave, if you're looking for sweaters, slippers, blankets, anything that a fan needs to get decked out with their fanhood, get fitted with the best sports gear around. Again, hoodies, shoes, signs, bobbleheads, and everything in between. It's spring and baseball season. They also have Aloha shirts, straw hats, polos, bags, everything you need for a game. And we also, again, have these great set decorations. We had TA bobblehead there as well in the Southside Sox uniform. So check out foco.com or click the link in the description below. For all non-presale items, use the promo code CHGO for 10% off. Mike, I want to get back to some prospect talk. Oscar Colas, again, we haven't seen a ton. It's only been 13 games, but what have you made of him at the major league level, and especially last year in his first full year in the Sox organization, bouncing all through those levels?
Well, I'm impressed because he looks like a big leaguer, and the White Sox envisioned him to be the opening day right fielder, I believe, based on the way they went about the offseason. And right now, I think it's going very well. And I say very well because he's not striking out a ton and not swinging and missing by a foot. So there's contact rate. He's got a strong arm. He's playing a capable right field. The thing that I guess I was concerned about is just how often will he be playing? Is he going to be in the lineup against left-handed pitching? And 400 plate appearances this year, in between 600 to 400 plate appearances, I think is a massive win for a guy who comes stateside, performs for the first time in his first full professional year last year. After missing a couple of years playing baseball with COVID and then in the international marketplace, they had the visa issue where he wasn't able to come stateside immediately once he was signed. So that kind of delayed his progression. He did play in Japan. So there's professional experience there, but just the ability to take on and take well to this type of atmosphere and the competition, he's checking all the boxes. This guy looks like a regular, a big league regular that the White Sox gambled on. And look, they're savvy. International signing $2.5 million, starting right fielder. So that's how the White Sox are doing their business.
Yeah, Colas has looked great so far. I don't know if you've gotten any takeaways from Colas, but Gavin Sheets being out there in right field kind of makes Oscar Colas' defense look pretty good, especially that throw. I mean, I'm still loving the cutoff from Oscar yesterday and the throw by Romy to get the guy at third, and even Lenine Sosa. It was a close play at home. The guy ends up scoring, but Lenine threw just a rocket to try to get him at home. Nice infield defense. I mean, at least that's been cleaned up. That was a big issue last year.
Yeah, I think Colas is impressed me more than I thought he would early in his career. But as we know, he's going to have rookie struggles. He's going to swing and miss a lot. I just want the power bat that we were promised so far. We haven't seen a lot of it, but I know it's coming once he gets adjusted to this league and gets comfortable with himself. But, yeah, we saw what Colas brings to the table when you have somebody who is not a right fielder out there and doing what Gavin Sheets did today, so you get the appreciation for him. Remember, I said I want Colas down in AAA for another whole year so he can get another full year of being stateside and having professional baseball here stateside. But the White Sox said he's ready, and, through 13 games, looks like he's ready.
All right, I got a couple quick rapid-fire things, and then we'll get out of here. Lenine Sosa hitting a home run today, 103-mile exit velocity on a 101 mile-per-hour pitch. What did we make of Lenine Sosa going deep today? If Yoán Moncada's healthy and we see Tim Anderson come back, could Lenine Sosa be a stalwart here? And could we see Hanser be DFA'd if Lenine continues to produce?
A good question. I think that Alberto would probably have to keep screwing up, if that makes sense. Obviously, we heard throughout the entire spring how valued he is as a clubhouse presence. And then, Herb, there's always the thing you always say, if Lenine Sosa is up here to be the fifth infielder, is that doing him much good compared to what he could be doing as an everyday guy down in AAA, getting at bats and getting more seasoning as a starting player. So I don't know if there's a big push to clear a roster spot for the foreseeable future to just have that guy who could be part of your future getting the start once every few days.
All right. Other quick thing for Mike, pitching prospects. You brought up Peyton Paulette. He's been interesting.
Oh, yeah.
But it seems like they've been having a real clear idea of what they want when they're drafting players and when they're bringing people into the organization.
So I think that's a great point because, Vinny, I think you can talk to this as well. Keenan Middleton, Gregory Santos, they have history with Ethan Katz. Ethan Katz has also helped develop Lucas Giolito's mechanical tweaks, and he's improved with the command and everything. Just in his career, Ethan Katz is a big part of the success of Lucas Giolito, and I think it rubbed off on Dylan Cease, because when we see the mechanical changes from Dylan Cease, it's very similar to what Lucas Giolito underwent. So
throw Carlos Rodon in there too. Even
that's
Jimmy
another.
Lambert.
And there are guys
Davis
that
Martin too, right?
they identify stuff, and that goes to the draft as well. And I mentioned Mike Shirley, but Chris Getz is a part of it. Kenny Williams is also a part of it. He's involved more than you believe. So credit to their strategy in the draft, because I commend them for doing it different from what we're used to. And we're thinking about, like, I always bring this up, like the names that they ultimately traded away when they were non-competitive while trying to be competitive. You didn't really lose a lot. You could name a handful, but we won't go through that now. But following 2019, they developed this trend of, or their willingness to, like I brought up earlier, take high school players, but also they identify where they can spend their bonus pool money and attack. So that's what they did in Peyton Paulette's case. Paulette had Tommy John surgery in 2022, projected to go in the first round. They spent Overslot in the second round to get him. And he looks like he is going to fly through the system because he's polished. And the fastball jumps out of his hand. You think about it, too. He finishes his 2021 season, gets into early 2022, has Tommy John surgery, doesn't pitch again until spring. This guy, I know you're rehabbing, but is getting stronger. And a guy who was already polished coming out of college, who was a projected first-round pick, you're thinking, if all things click, this is somebody who you can count on as early as next year. And that's a leap. He's going to be 22 in May, but I think that's how highly I think of Peyton Paulette. He's got a mid-90s fastball and a curveball that has RPM numbers that jump off the page at you. So that's just one name. There are a number of starting pitchers in the White Sox farm system right now that need to develop. They're young, but I think that's the plan moving forward. It's either you're going to move some of these guys for value in the immediate sense, or you're going to commit to developing players like Jared Kelly and the like.
Yeah, and I could geek out for a while, but we've already been going for an hour, so we'll just end with Lucas Giolito's day. Kind of talking about Ethan Katz and connections. We know Lucas Giolito and Ethan Katz have a long-term relationship. But that sounded weird to put it that way. Yeah. All right. Lucas Giolito pitched 6 innings today. Allowed 1 earned run, 5 hits, 7 Ks, 2 walks. Sonny Gray, 5 innings, no earned, 3 hits, 5 Ks, 2 walks. Just to go through Giolito's day real quick, and Steven, you can flash the stuff. This is how he got it done. Threw his fastball high, threw his curveball kind of really just away, kind of clipped the edge of the zone a decent amount with his slider today, and he kept his changeup down, and he was really effective today. You can flash the other stats here. The velocity was pretty up, or normal at least for the fastball. The slider about a mile and a half, and it was a really good pitch today. You go to the actual stats here, Steven. Got 13 whiffs on 50 swings, 15 called strikes, and again, the slider, 4 whiffs, 7 swings. So that was a really good pitch for him today. Adding the mile per hour seemed to help with deceptiveness, but the Giolito fastball got 33% out of the zone swing, so he was getting guys to swing at bad pitches, and it had an average exit velocity of 80.7 miles per hour on 10 balls in play. So he just really did an excellent job of locating. So if Lucas is going to be good, I don't know if he's going to be a strikeout guy anymore. But
I saw 96.
You just see 96.
So give me that.
He was touching 91 a little bit in the late innings, but it seems like location's going to be the real key to his success in 2023, and we'll see how he does. He got a good start though, and now everyone's had at least one good start. So we'll see how Clevenger does. On Friday, we have an off-day show tomorrow at 4 p.m., so make sure you join us live here on the CHGO Sports YouTube channel. Hit that subscribe button, hit that notification button, and we got about 48 likes. Get over 50 for Mike. Welcome Mike in. It was great to have him on. You can follow him on Twitter at Rankin906. He is the
Lead editor.
Lead editor. I was going to say feature editor, but that
cool.
doesn't. Yeah, lead
works.
editor and podcast host over at Future Sox. That's Vinnie Duber. You can follow him on Twitter at Vinnie Duber. He's our CHGO White Sox beat writer. And that's Herb Lawrence. You can follow him on Twitter at Ecknerwall23. He's our CHGO White Sox community leader. I'm Sean Anderson. You can follow me on Twitter at Sean_W_Anderson. Make sure you follow the podcast at CHGO_White Sox. And thank you to Stephen Nicholas for producing the show. Thank you to everyone for hanging out with us in the chat. We'll talk to you tomorrow at 4. Go Sox.